I'll let folks trickle in. Thanks so much for joining us today to talk about battery recycling. Good morning or good afternoon from wherever you're joining us. It looks like we've had most of the folks that were in the waiting room have joined the webinar. So we'd like to thank you for joining us today and to talk about battery recycling hosted by the North American Hazardous Materials Management Association. And I'd like to thank our two presenters today, James and Andrew. I'm going to go ahead and read their bios for you so you can know the experience that our great presenters have that will be sharing with us on the call today. So we have James Yules. He is the General Manager of Environmental 360 Solutions Battery Division in Port Colborne, Ontario, with over 25 years in waste management experience. He specializes in recycling systems and technology, leading a team that processes millions of pounds of batteries into reusable materials annually. An inventor with 3 international patents. Wow. James has received notable awards, including the OWMA Canadian Executive of the Year in 2018, Canada's Clean 50 in 2015, Niagara Entrepreneur of the Year in 2014, and the PCWC Presidential Award in 2014. So thank you again, James. And then I'll go ahead and introduce Andrew as well. Andrew Horstman is the Vice President of Sustainability at Environmental 360 Solutions and an integrated waste, a resource recovery services company with operations across Canada. At E360S, Andrew leads the development of the company's resource recovery services, both through organic growth and through acquisition. In addition, Andrew heads the producer responsibility organization operated by E360S in Ontario and leads the company's evolving ESG program. And I forgot to mention, I'm Jordan Wells. I'm the Director of Advocacy and Communications at the National Stewardship Action Council. We're a nonprofit that advocates for an equitable circular economy. And I'm also the Secretary of the NAMA board. And today for our process, if you have any clarifying questions or any questions at all, feel free to put them into the Q&A function. And our presenters have said that they're fine taking questions during their presentation. So welcome everybody. And I will hand it over to, I think James is kicking us off.
Andrew will be starting us off, but thanks, Jordan.
Thanks very much, Jordan, and appreciate that introduction. Great to have everyone here. So I'm going to do the Who is E360 piece here, and then hand it over to the experts who will talk about specifically our leading edge battery recycling services. So Environmental 360 Solutions, as our full name is, has been around since 2018. We have focused on a portion of the market where resource recovery is our core principle. Not to say we don't manage waste. I like to say that E360 does everything and is just about everywhere in Canada, but we don't necessarily do everything everywhere. As a rapidly expanding company providing integrated services to our customers, we're always on the lookout for new opportunities to provide innovative diversion solutions for our customers, and are rapidly growing both through organic growth, as Jordan mentioned, but also through acquisition. And so we were very fortunate to acquire the assets of a company called Raw Material Company in September of 2023. And James and Sarah were part of that team with a long experience in recycling batteries. And we've been continuing to leverage that expertise to grow that service across the country, as we do with our other material resource recovery services. We can go to the next slide, please. For a young company, E360's growth has been quite rapid, from 1, perhaps 2 employees, I should say. On the first day in 2018, we're now well over 3,000 employees operating across the country. We have a large footprint in Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, and British Columbia, but also have operations in Saskatchewan and other provinces to come. With the completion of our latest round of financing in 2023, where we brought on board BlackRock as our new majority shareholder, we're beginning our expansion North American-wide, and I think you'll see some new acquisitions coming in the next few months that will begin our expansion into the United States market. As we mentioned, we are focused on sustainable resource management. We are looking for opportunities to divert material from landfill and recover the value from those materials. So on the solid waste side, we do a number of things, both in the residential and the IC&I sector. We provide collection and processing services. We divert materials and put them to the commodity markets, whether it's plastics or fibers. And we engage in proactive conversations with our customers to identify how we can tailor or grow our service offering to be able to meet the unique needs that they encounter. Our customers operate in every vertical of the marketplace and are driven by both the bottom line, their desire to be more sustainable citizens, but also by the regulated environment that is in place in Canada. Canada is quite progressive in terms of requiring resource recovery and material diversion from all aspects of the economy. Every province in Canada has a regime of some sort that enforces requirements to divert materials from landfill, and E360 fills that service need very nicely by offering both cutting-edge resource recovery services through divisions like our battery recycling division, also our tire recycling and our curbside material recycling programs, but also through working with our customer to identify hard-to-recycle material streams and coming up with customized solutions to be able to manage those. We can go to the next slide. We also manage a diverse range of hazardous wastes where quite often disposal has been the only option. We are always looking for opportunities to recover value from those resources as well. Where there's an opportunity to put those back into the marketplace and have them used in a second life, that's what we're prioritizing. But we work through all range of resource recovery and diversion, including energy recovery and other aspects. So our tire recycling business in Quebec and Ontario, we are the largest tire hauler and processor in those jurisdictions. We operate a used oil lubricant recycling program that operates North American wide, but we also deal with pharmaceutical waste and biomedical waste and hazardous waste and are constantly looking for opportunities and new partnerships to be able to divert those materials. We can go to our next slide, please. So I mentioned the highly regulated space that is the Canadian environment for material recovery. And we have a number of different models, whether you call them stewardship, or you call them sustainability, or you call them individual producer responsibility or extended producer responsibility. Every province in Canada has a regime that deals with a range of different materials, and we provide services for almost every one of those materials in every one of those jurisdictions. I mentioned tires. We are also an active collector of waste electronics and lamps. We provide full service management from bulk loads to individual pickups, and we provide customized collection solutions for our customers to be able to make it easier for them to provide service to their customers or the consumer to ensure that the end-of-life products that they have get responsibly recycled at the end of days. Today, we're going to talk about batteries, which is a really exciting and growth space for us. There's certainly been a lot of work going on in the Canadian economy to ensure that batteries are diverted from the waste stream, both for safety, but also for resource recovery reasons. And we're obviously watching very closely in the United States as that file evolves as well, and are in talks with a number of different potential partners to provide our market-leading services to that opportunity as well. So with that, I'm going to pause. I'm going to turn this over to James Yules, the general manager of our battery recycling business. We'll talk a little bit about that customized service.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks for the introduction, Jordan. As Andrew mentioned earlier, we've been recycling batteries at the site since approximately 1985. We've been ISO 14000. We were one of the first environmental companies to get our ISO 14000 accreditation in the year 2000. And we're just approaching our 10th recertification audit. So quite a long history of delivering consistent results with respect to our ISO programs and our recovery efforts. Next slide, please. What differentiates or holds us apart from a lot of other companies is we have our own patented recycling process that emphasizes the circular economy and recoverability of primary alkaline batteries. We provide a fully integrated service. So we provide collection assistance, we provide the transportations systems, we provide the sorting and sorting technology, as well as the ability to process and recover those materials through our patented process. Next slide, please. One of the keys to recycling batteries properly starts with the identification phase. As some of you or many of you may know, there are many different types of chemistries of batteries. They're usually summarized around the most common types being lead acid, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride, NiCad, alkaline, and to name a few. But when it comes to sorting and managing those materials, the actual resorting that's required is much more complex. There are multiple types of chemistries for each one of those types of categories of batteries, and we sort to the chemistry for each type. So on any given day, our staff are sorting into about approximately 20 to 30 different categories of batteries to maximize recovery and recyclability. Next slide, please. Our process, again, starts with the collection phase. Once the batteries are properly sorted, we consolidate the alkaline or zinc containing materials, which also includes zinc carbon batteries. Those materials are sped through our process where they're recycled and recovered. The remaining material, which comprises about 15 to 20% of our public collections, we segregate out and work directly with other processors that specialize in recovery of those technologies and have direct relationships where we not only handle material for them, but they handle material for us. So it makes for good reciprocal relationships. Some of those chemistries are outlined on the slide. Once our batteries are effectively segregated out by chemistry and we are left with the zinc materials, those batteries then proceed on site to our processing facility. Our processing facility then has a multi-stage process involving multiple shredding and mechanical separation technologies to recover and separate the components of the batteries to maximize recovery. This ensures that by proper segregation of the batteries, that we get the components that we're after, and proper processing ensures we maximize the yields of those recovered materials.
Sorry.
That back one. So the process basically works through mechanical systems. Our patented systems basically shred and break down the batteries into core components. Those core components are separated and recovered and reutilized in new commercial markets for reuse of those materials. So for instance, with alkaline batteries, we shred the batteries down, we separate out the steel casing. The steel casing goes back out to local steel mills where it's reintroduced into more steel products. The paper and plastic aspect is the only portion of the material that we don't attribute to recycling. And that's basically based on Ontario's definition of recycling, which does not include waste energy. So when we make our recycling claims, we never claim the paper and plastic fraction of the battery as it's sent for waste energy. But an interesting fun fact is the energy generated from the paper and plastic that we recover from the batteries, if it was fully integrated, would offset about 80% of our energy needs for the process. So we end up with a very, very not only highly efficient, highly recyclable system, but also environmentally sound and low carbon system as well. The zinc and manganese and potassium materials are separated out. These materials are micronutrient feedstocks, which are heavily used in the agricultural industry. They are converted into sulfate form, so they can readily be deployed within fertilizers to generate micronutrient content for fertilizers. The materials are mostly needed in corn production. There's approximately 100 million acres of corn production in the US, and a couple pounds of our materials per acre can generate up to 10 to 20 bushels of corn per acre. So the effectiveness of our material is a sound product. It also displaces other materials, which supports the circular economy, and counterintuitively is a very clean source. The zinc contained in the batteries is an electrolytic grade, so it's 3 nines purity, which is much purer than other sources of zinc which are used for agriculture. So it may be counterintuitive to consider batteries for use in agriculture, but actually when you know the science, it makes a lot of sense. And the use of these materials actually bolsters the corn growth, as stated earlier. And if we were to use our product, if we could collect enough batteries to use our product in all the agricultural corn production in the US, you would be generating 20 extra bushels per acre on 100 million acres per year. So quite a lot of food could be grown from the use of our technology. So what makes us different or stand apart? Our technology has been fully audited under what's called the Canadian Standards Guideline, which proves our recovery and our recycling efforts. That was audited under that system, and under that system, we achieved an 84% recycling efficiency rate. That means 84% of the materials recovered were actually reintroduced and reutilized in new products. The 16% is a combination between the paper and plastic of the battery and moisture lost during the shredding operation or evaporation of the water within the batteries. We also do not claim that in our recycling rate. As part of the investigations into our technology, we also hired a third-party engineering company to conduct a carbon study on behalf of our process using EU standards. And the summary of that was, for every ton of batteries we recycle, we actually reduce carbon impact by over a ton. So not only highly efficient at recovering and making new resources, but also reducing overall carbon impact, which is an important part of what we do. As stated earlier, we're not just a processor, we're also a collection company. We have specialty collection programs. We were some of the first, as you know, NYMA was gratefully offered and Durham accepted award on our behalf as a result of our circular economy and our curbside collection programs. In addition to that, we've developed school programs, and we've also developed the first outdoor battery collection system in North America, so that batteries can be collected outside of buildings safely. In addition to that, we have a national transportation infrastructure and network. We have facilities located in Buffalo, New York, so we deal North American wide, and materials can be transported to us for recovery from anywhere in the US under the universal waste rule to our Buffalo facility. Sarah?
Sure. So yeah, as James said, we do offer a multitude of different programs, and it's kind of needed to collect batteries. We have to hit people on all different levels. And when you've been collecting and recycling batteries for almost 40 years, you start to get good at it. In 2020, in Ontario, we had one of the highest capture rates for single-use batteries across North America, which was 54%. And we use this tried and true method to collect batteries in different provinces and jurisdictions across North America, and to raise recycling rates across the country. To do this, again, you have to be creative. You have to have different collection programs and hit people on different levels. Hazardous waste and collection depots are the backbone of our collection sites. They do collect a lot of batteries for us, but sometimes the operating hours or the inconvenience of making a special trip doesn't work for everybody. So we've gotten creative, and we are out there collecting at retail sites and community centers and libraries. We go to schools and we educate a generation of students on proper handling and the importance of recycling. And then, when all else fails, we have our curbside program, and it doesn't get any easier or more convenient than the curbside program. And one of the interesting parts about our curbside program is that we're collecting newfound batteries. So when we implement a curbside program in a new municipality, these collections don't impact our collections at the retail or the depot. They're newfound batteries. People that never could find the convenience or didn't know that they could recycle before, now recycle at the curb. So I guess we'll address one of the elephants in the room here with and talk about the growing number of fires that are happening due to batteries across North America. It is one of the hot subjects, no pun intended there. But it's something that we should all be aware of and not hide from. It's looking at the reports that are happening across the country. It's a good opportunity to get programs established and try to mitigate risk. And talking about mitigating risk, we have several different approaches that we're using to increase safety when it comes to battery recycling. And one of the most important aspects is just accessibility, making sure that consumers have access to recycling points. Sometimes we hear concerns about, oh, I don't want to recycle batteries, it's dangerous. But really what's most dangerous is not having programs to collect and manage this waste. When there's no accessibility, the batteries end up in other waste streams. And that's why we're seeing a lot of the fires when they're coming through different in our garbage or different recycling streams. Education is, again, super important. Consumers need to understand why it's important to recycle batteries and how to recycle batteries and what precautions they need to take with their batteries and at home, at the workplace. These are all important educational aspects. And again, communicating. You have to tell them multiple times. We have to communicate this. Where can you recycle your batteries? How to recycle your batteries? Education and communication, I can't stress, are two of the biggest and keyest factors in mitigating risk and increasing the accessibility. All super important. Our battery collection containers. These have been our tried and true collection containers for decades. We, again, all about offering convenience for collections. Our 2-gallon collection container sits perfectly on a desktop or a countertop and is used to collect batteries and to be consolidated into one of our other larger collection containers for shipping purposes. Our 5-gallon bucket is used on our courier program. This is great for small volumes or remote areas. Our 30-gallon drum is completely all steel. This is probably one of our most popular collection containers. It is in retail stores, it's in community centers, it's in libraries. It's bright and colorful. It's easier to identify for its purpose, and it holds a worthy amount of batteries. And for even larger collections, of course, we do have 45-gallon or 55-gallon drums as well. And our newest collection container is our outdoor collection container. So during COVID, when consumers were having a hard time reaching public collection sites, our drivers were waiting in line, just like everyone else, to service our containers. We thought there must be a better way. And so we started working on our outdoor collection container. Again, we're looking to mitigate risk on all levels. And so this outdoor collection container has all the bells and whistles. It has smart sensors that are monitoring the temperature inside of the collection container, but it's also monitoring the temperature and the volume. So we can know when we can dispatch our truck to go service that site. In high traffic areas like Toronto, this is terrific. We can go service that site at midnight or 2 o'clock in the morning if we want to, and avoid all of the traffic on the way. It's also equipped with the fire suppression system. So in the event that there is any thermal activity, the fire suppression system will be activated and immediately cool down the area.
And Sarah, really quickly, since you're talking about the containers, we had a question. Do you discover items in the collection containers that shouldn't be accepted? And if so, what happens with those materials? And I imagine you get a lot of stuff that doesn't belong there, as most people.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. And yes, we definitely do. With any sort of public collection, you're bound to get materials that are not batteries. So yeah, we get, coffee cups. Coffee cups will probably be the least of our worries, but we do get other garbage materials. The odd time we get dog poop bags. It happens. But for the most part, we really just get batteries. I would say in our public collections, over 80%, closer to 90% are all alkaline batteries. It seems to be what most households are still using right now. But yeah, we do get contamination. It is expected. It happens. We do our best to try to divert contamination on all levels. Our new outdoor containers do have a little flapper design. So if you're walking by and you just thought you conveniently, pop your coffee cup in there, you'd have to try a little bit harder, and it might make you think the garbage is right over there. But yeah, great question.
We also do quite a bit of public outreach with respect to our containers on safe handling and what materials are permissible within the containers. And we promote that also through our websites and through our social media too as well, and our public actions and performances too as well.
Yeah, so our outdoor container is completely metal. It was very important for us to have it completely metal. And it is, again, bright. It's easily identifiable for its purpose. We put a lot of thought and research into ensuring that we could keep the weather out of the container and keep the batteries in the container. So we worked with a local engineering student in the design of the lid to keep, ice, snow, and rain out of the container. And closing statements. I don't know, Mr. Horseman, if you want to take that one.
Mr. Horseman, sure. Yeah, no, so as James and Sarah have indicated, there's a long history with E360 with our the addition of RMC to our company in terms of our expertise, in terms of both designing systems that will have high capture rates for batteries, but also in effectively managing those streams to be able to recover the maximum amount of resources from them. Because batteries, while we do collect batteries from the industrial and commercial sector as well, because there is such a focus on getting consumers to engage with the battery recycling system, we do put a lot of time and energy into education and communication and to designing receptacles that are going to afford consumers the easiest opportunity to put those batteries into the proper stream. As Sarah indicated, there's a number of different reasons for doing this. One is, in a circular economy, we want to divert the greatest amount of resources from disposal and put them back into the economy and use them again. But there also is that safety aspect. Certain battery chemistries, when improperly disposed of, can present a significant safety risk. It's been a growing issue here in Canada, and I know one in the US as well. I'm aware that I still call them ISRI, but they've now changed their name down in the United States. I think it's called the Recycled Materials Association now. They have a task force specifically working on battery diversion from waste because of the safety issue of improperly disposed of batteries in the waste stream, both in vehicles, but also in transfer stations and in landfills. So properly designing a battery recycling system both affords you an opportunity to recover those resources, but also enhances safety through the waste and resource recovery stream. So it's really an important issue on a number of different fronts, and has got the attention both of the battery producers, but also of the regulators and the waste management industry more broadly, as designing something that will be effective, but easy for the consumer to participate in. Our experience here in Canada is that consumers want to participate and want to be afforded opportunities to divert material from landfill. As with anything, they are busy, they have multiple stresses, and so we strive to make it as easy and convenient for them as possible, and that's what helps drive those high capture rates. If you make things difficult, you're just not going to get the material and the uptake, but the system that has been designed and put in place by RMC and E360 is what is driving those 50% plus capture rates. Every market experiences some challenges. Here in Ontario, we've seen a couple of years where performance has unfortunately lagged. We're working with the regulator, with the producers, to put in place some solutions to address that and get those battery collection rates back up to where they need to be. And we stand ready to work with those partners to be able to manage all of those materials and recover the greatest value from that stream. Environmental 360 is focused on providing those services across a range of different materials in Canada and soon to come North America wide. And we look forward to working with the folks on this webinar with any opportunities you may have to divert additional streams of batteries or other materials and recover those resources. So thanks again for the opportunity. I don't know if there are any other questions that we can take, but we'd be happy to have a bit of a dialogue with folks and speak to anything that you may want to know a little bit more about.
Yeah, it looks like we have one that was just sent to me asking about vape pens, or if you get them or if you take them.
We have definitely worked on a couple of pilots working at processing vapes. There is a small battery in that. There are some somewhat unique challenges associated with vapes, given that it is a quasi-medical device, comes under a whole different set of regulations. I don't know, James, if there are any sort of key learnings that you'd want to share with the group about our vape pen pilot.
Yeah, absolutely. So the trickiness around the vape pen recycling is we're capable and willing to recycle the batteries from vape pens. There are some regulatory issues that have to be dealt with up front with respect to those materials, because as a battery recycling facility, we are not licensed to handle nicotine or THC containing products. So we work with a variety of partnerships to manage those materials, and then we manage the batteries once those materials have been safely removed and recovered.
Okay, this is a very big problem, I think, that a lot of folks are experiencing. So thank you for that. Looks like we have a couple more questions. Can damaged and defective lithium batteries be safely recycled, or do they have to be sent for disposal?
So the difficulty with damaged and damaged or DDR material is really around the shipping and handling. There are very specific provisions under DOT, as well as our equivalent here in Transport Canada, on how those materials must be transported, the containment types that must be managed. But when it comes to the actual product itself, as long as the battery type is identifiable and we know what type of cathode chemistry it is, there's a good chance that those materials can be properly managed and recovered. So again, when looking at this, if you're dealing with DDR materials, it's important to know your responsibilities as a shipper with respect to how those materials have to be separated and packaged for safe transport. But from a recycling standpoint, it's also good to know what the cathode chemistry is and provide the recycler with as much information as you can. And that optimizes the chances to make sure that those materials are recovered to the best of their ability.
Thank you very much. Looks like, I think Tyler asked, could you talk about the fire suppression system in the public collection bins?
Absolutely. So our outdoor bin has a number of safety features that have been engaged. We are at the pilot stage. We have approximately 6 of these containers out in the wild, so to speak. And we're currently conducting testing to see the effectiveness of not only the containment measures and the protection area measures we put in there, but also the fire suppression systems that we've looked at. And if needed, we'll update those materials. But we feel we have an effective solution that helps mitigate risk. The key with us is that the container is located outside, so that in the event of a thermal runaway of a lithium-ion battery, it's not in an enclosed space. You're not generating hazardous gases in an enclosed space. It's outside. Also, that the containment of the material is very high-grade steel, so has very high temperature resistance. It's vented so that it reduces the risk of explosion. And as part of that complementary or part of those mitigations, we do have a fire suppression tech in there. It's a pressurized cylinder that basically releases at temperature. So once temperature is reached, the materials deployed, and it rapidly cools the container to help stop the spread of any fire that happens. As anybody that knows experience in the industry, lithium ions are particularly problematic. There isn't really great solutions to manage lithium ion battery fires because they generate their own oxygen and they also emit hazardous gases. So we're working and experimenting with these technologies to provide the best and most safe options. We're going to be conducting testing with the local fire departments in the coming months to evaluate our systems and their effectiveness. But again, the primary goal is public safety and containment, preventing the fire from expanding. So that's what we're focused on, and that's what we're trying to deliver to our customers.
Wow, really exciting. Do you require your participants to prepare the batteries in any way? And some they want them to bag or tape the terminals.
Yeah. Sarah, you want to talk about our public outreach as far as the batteries we accept and how they prep for recycling?
So for your typical alkaline AA, AAA battery, there's nothing that's required. But it comes to 9-volt batteries, 6-volt batteries, lithium ion batteries, primary lithium batteries, and other rechargeable batteries. We do provide taping guidelines to residents and consumers to tape the terminals prior to putting them in our battery recycling containers. They can also be bagged as well. And that communication is on all of our containers. We do have downloadable resources on our website where you can pick up posters and social media advertisements to help spread the word as well. And it's something that we're constantly communicating. We're sharing this information in schools. And, I think that's one of the best steps because, kids know how to do it and they'll make sure that their parents do too.
I love that. Very smart. Got to train the next generation.
Sarah, it's Matt here. Can you kind of speak about your school program and what you're trying to do in Ontario, but with your school program?
Absolutely. This is our 11th year with our Ontario Schools Battery Recycling Challenge. We developed the challenge to teach students and their families about the proper way to handle and prepare batteries for recycling, and also talk about, the importance of recycling and recovering the valuable resources within batteries. It's a really, really fun program. For me, it's one of my favorite programs that we run. It's the most rewarding one. Again, it's you tell students or you tell children, it's important to recycle, and you teach them how, and they get it, they do it. With adults, you have to tell them at least 3 times before they get it. So students, it catches on really quick. It's a lot of fun. I think it's really important because this information isn't necessarily something that's being expressed and taught regularly. It's not something that you talk around, to sit around the family dinner table and talk about batteries. So this program's kind of putting it out there and getting more people talking about batteries and the safety reasons behind it. We give out some cash prizes to schools. We also do a donation to Sick Kids Hospital, and we also have individual school prize or student prizes for students as well. And it's a challenge for 200 schools currently across Ontario.
Wow, that's
There's a
really
question about, I think there's a question about battery sorting.
Yeah, they asked, are batteries manually sorted at the processing facility, and how to reduce cross-contamination on prior to shredding?
Yeah, do you want me to take that one, Andrew? Yeah, so yes, we do, a majority of our sorting is done manually with automated assistance. We have set up equipment specializing in the sorting of batteries and sorting stations that are dynamic so that we can handle different types of batteries and allocate resources necessary to manage and sort those batteries that are collected. We have looked at several technologies, including creating some of our own with local colleges involving optical technology, but those are still works in progress. We are currently always looking at new opportunities and investigating. Currently looking at some of the X-ray technology that's emerging with respect to application of battery recycling, but it's in its very early stages. The difficulty that we've encountered in the past is a lot of systems are set up around 95% efficiency, seem to work between 90 to 95. Our actual manual sorting is over 99.5% accuracy. So a little bit of a hill to climb with respect to the existing technology. But again, we're keeping an eye on the new technologies as well as our own R&D to help narrow that delta.
And I think one of the things I would speak to on that about why, that importance between 95 and 99% is so important is that because of our end markets and, every recycling system lives or dies really on the value of its end markets. We are not necessarily a recycler. We are a manufacturer of micronutrients. And so we are making a highly engineered product to our customer specifications. So in order to do that, we need to control our in-feeds very closely so that we can continue to meet those product specs. And that difference between 95 and 99, while it may seem very small, is the difference between making a sellable end product and making an end product that doesn't actually have value. Or if I can be a little bit crass, as a former colleague of mine used to say, value-added crap. So you've put a lot of time and energy into recycling material that ultimately can't be used by anyone in a higher end use, and you're actually downcycling material. Our goal is to recover those resources and keep them going out into the market in a circular way. And to do that, you've got to make something that's consistent, of a high specification, and that your customer can always use.
Perfect. There's a couple questions on the Q&A.
Sure.
This one says surrounding your containers. Do you guys sell the containers, not the service?
We provide the containers as part of a service, and the cost of that depends a bit on what the nature of the relationship is. So, and which container are you looking for? You know, just an indoor container, one of the plastic 2-gallon or 5 gallons. Are you looking for that new outdoor collection container? We would tend to price the provision of a container, which will often include a number of satellite containers that will support that large collection container, to a customer as part of an ongoing relationship. We'd love to talk to you about the opportunity to provide that and provide a full 360 managed solution for your batteries.
And the next question is, how much work do you do in the United States? If yes, are there any certain regions in the US where you work?
Absolutely, we do. Go ahead, Jane.
Yeah, so we work with a number of collection partners across the US. We have a facility located in Buffalo, New York, which is actually about 30 minutes from our processing facility on the Canadian side. We receive batteries from all over the US. So we work with partners from California to Florida. They basically work as the front end collection systems. They manage and consolidate materials from their customers. And then we have a recycling relationship with them. So they will ship us truckloads of their materials to our Buffalo facility. And then we manage and ensure those materials are properly recycled and managed from there.
And then I think Julie asked also if there is fire suppression material in the bins, why do the terminals of the batteries have to be secured?
Yeah, so that's all about mitigation, right? So we want to do everything we can to prevent an issue. So we're using all the best recommended safety practices that we can to prevent an incident. We promote the taping of the batteries because that's the safest way to manage the batteries. Having said that, in a public collection system, 100% of people aren't going to tape their batteries, but every little bit helps. So we tend to look at it from a high level, saying we try and do everything we can to mitigate risk.
Great. Matt, do you want to take the one in the Q&A and then we can go
Yeah.
to the...
Yeah, so in the Q&A, it says, can you expand on your company's lithium-ion battery recycling / recovery when associated with the vape devices?
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. So we work with different downstream processors for lithium ion recycling. Those are all vetted processors to ensure the highest quality and recovery. And so the batteries, the lithium ion batteries, if we receive the lithium ion, the vape devices to our facility and they do not contain any of the cartridges, so there's no nicotine or cannabis, they can be broken down into just that little tiny vape battery, which is a tiny polymer battery, and that can be sent down to one of our lithium ion processors.
And another question going in the chat, are tool batteries accepted in your outdoor receptacles?
Yeah, yes, all tool batteries are accepted in our outdoor receptacles. Right now, our outdoor receptacles accept all batteries that weigh 5 kilograms or less, both single use and rechargeable. The only batteries that are excluded from our outdoor collection containers are damaged batteries.
Right.
Back to the vapes really quickly with your work on the schools. Are you working with any schools to collect vapes currently?
That's actually been another hot subject with the schools, and we are working on developing a program to help them manage that.
Great. We got a couple more in the chat. This is great. Thank you. Do you try and dictate what type of tape is used to tape the terminals, or do you not care whether you get duct tape, electrical tape on the batteries you receive?
We do recommend Scotch tape or masking tape. Electrical tape is okay as well, but we want to be able to identify the battery chemistry still. So usually masking tape or Scotch tape works best, so that we can still identify the battery. And
then really quick back to the vape. Sorry, this is everyone's talking about vape, which is great. I mean, it's an issue that everyone's still grappling with. And I haven't actually thought about this one, airports, because obviously when people are going to get on a plane, maybe they can't bring what they had hoped to bring. Yeah, you could talk more about any work you're doing with airports.
That's actually a great idea. We might explore that a little bit more. Again, we run into a little bit of problems with the vape devices because they are controlled substances. You know, you can't just collect that material and with any transporter and any hauler can't go to any facility. So there is a little bit of work involved in developing those programs. But yeah, I mean, once we nail it, we'll be on it.
So Nolan, that's, if you will reach out to us with some contact information, we'd love to chat with you. And I can't promise anything, but if that turns into an opportunity, maybe that's something we could work on together. So
I know I'll be in touch.
there,
Yeah.
absolutely appreciate that.
Are the collection bins for household use only, or can businesses recycle batteries through this program?
So actually, all of our containers are for commercial use. For households, some of our curbside partners will deploy small curbside collection bags for households. But at this time, all of our containers are for commercial use. So absolutely, they're great for any of your workplaces.
Sarah, just on that note on the curbside, can you kind of touch on what the curbside program is and how it kind of involved in Ontario?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this was probably 12 years ago, 12,
Yeah.
13 years ago. And depending on who you talk to, it was either Niagara or Durham, was one of the first municipalities in Ontario and actually in Canada to launch the first battery curbside collection program and to pilot it. And obviously we've seen some great success for that. And so now 12, 13 years later, we're still operating these programs in Ontario and growing these programs. I guess the basics is that the municipality does some P&E with their residents, puts out collection dates. We do recommend putting out branded bags on your first initial launch. It just gives a lot of information to residents, has taping guidelines, the collection dates, and the batteries are collected with their regular scheduled pickups for garbage or blue box or organics. Right now, our suggested place to put the batteries at the curb is with your organics bin. Our organic bins have a nice lid on them, which really helps, cut down any chances of contamination with other waste streams. And we've had some really high success rates with our collection programs, including in Peel.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I heard you allude to maybe some expansion that your business might be doing. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so we're looking, I mean, there's an evolving landscape. Well, we are organically growing our business by looking for new customers who are interested in battery recycling services where we can add some value. As I mentioned, in Canada as well as the United States, there's a number of regulated programs that are coming down the pipe. And so the great thing about those is that really sort of kickstarts the demand for battery recycling services, creates that critical mass. And one of those things with any new program is, how quickly can you get uptake? How quickly can you get a volume of material flowing through that stream? And what we can help bring to the table with partners, both on the regulatory side, but also on the business side, is an understanding of how you do these things. As Sarah mentioned, we have decades of experience in how do you engage consumers? Where do you meet them where they are? How do you provide solutions that makes it easy for them to put batteries in that stream? Because the idea of these programs isn't just to talk about recycling, it's to drive greater and greater rates of recycling, both for the resource recovery, but also for that safety element that we talked about a little bit earlier. So we're actively in discussions with the regulators in those markets and those producers to be able to identify how can we leverage our expertise, our capabilities, our strong financial position, but also our operational know-how to be able to get those programs up to the best in class level that we have here in Ontario, for example, even more quickly than they could do otherwise on their own. In Canada, Alberta is a jurisdiction that's coming along, and we're really excited about the opportunity there. But there are a number of US states where we're actively looking at the opportunity to provide some of those services.
Well, I don't know if Sarah, on the last slide, you had the contact information. Maybe you could display that again, or if you want to put it in the chat so folks can know how to get a hold of you all. And then it looks like the next webinar hosted by the Great Lakes chapter will be on December 4th at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on vaping devices and batteries. So I hope folks will join in, especially those that were interested more on vaping devices. And I know there's some legislation coming to California to be introduced this next session. So, and many other states are also looking at legislation, which is really exciting.
Excellent.
if you
Well,
wanna-
really appreciate the opportunity and all the questions, and look forward to speaking with some of you offline about the opportunity to advance your biorecycling objectives.
Great, thank you. I don't think everyone got that, Sarah, so I'm just gonna put it in the
Oh, did I
chat.
not put it in the right spot?
I think it was just to us, which is, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you all so much. I hope everybody that celebrates has a happy Thanksgiving and a great rest of your week and weekend. And we look forward to seeing you hopefully on December 4th.
Thanks
Thank
very
you
much.
so much,
Thanks,
James.
Thank you,
Jordan,
everyone.
Matthew.
Have a great
Thank
one.
you.
Take care.